Now, honestly, I wish I hadn't done a total spoiler at the end of the last video for George Washington, because it does kind of take away from this, but I always love showing this artwork in class because when I put it up on the screen, I like to watch and see your reactions. So I'm trying to replicate that by hiding it from you right now. Okay, so we have Houdon's George Washington. Great example of neoclassical, how it can give you a little bit of the world and George Washington, understanding of him, but also make these direct references to the past. Cool. Easy to do, right? Uh, what? This is George Washington? Yeah, this is George Washington. This is by another artist, not Houdon. This is by Horatio Greneau. Horatio Greneau's George Washington. Wow, 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 wow. This was commissioned in 1840 by the United States Congress. So yes, the people of the United States paid for this. The idea was that this massive statue, it stands at 11 feet tall, just in the seated position, it's 11 feet tall. This statue was supposed to go under the dome in the Capitol building. So again, mind my scrolling. In fact, I'm going to pause and I'll show you the Capitol building just to remind you. Here, the Capitol building. So this statue that we were just looking at, it's supposed to go in under the dome in the Capitol building. What we have here is George Washington dressed like a Greek god. Greneau used the statue of Houdon as a reference point for George Washington's head and his hairstyle, but everything else is all Greneau. I mean, we have here, as I said, a bare-chested, toga wearing George Washington, and he's sitting in this insanely elaborate throne. And what is this gesture here? If we were to stand in front of him, what is he doing? He's pointing up and he's holding a sword. Now, I want to ask you, if you're standing in front of this, what is he telling you then? Okay, we'll get back to that. This reference is very clearly aligned with the classical world. By accounts, by all kind of historical accounts, the statue of Zeus at the Temple of Zeus was very similar. I say was because it does not exist anymore. It was destroyed. But everybody who wrote about it described it as being a bare-chested with a toga wrapped around his waist and sitting in this big elaborate throne. Just like this. So, I mean, it's totally classical, right? Right? Maybe a bit too classical, maybe a bit too much. It was definitely not comfortable. The public was not comfortable with seeing George Washington's nipples and his fantastic abs. It just it doesn't sit well with the kind of more puritanical, more conservative establishment of the United States. And then this gesture again, I've asked you, what is he doing here? He's pointing up, like to God. Does this give him then this God status, or that he was divinely given this power by God? Pointing up, God is telling us to do this, or is he telling you to do this? Do what? The sword. Is the sword pointed at you like he's going to poke you? No, he's turned the hilt, the handle to you. He wants you to take up the sword. He wants you to take up arms. He wants you to grab this sword and go fight. Fight for America. Wait. This goes against everything that George Washington was in his, exemplum virtutis, showing us. He said, put down your weapons and go back to work. Go be a farmer. And this George Washington's like, here, take this sword and do this because God has given me this divine inspiration and I'm sitting here like a god or like an emperor. And the people of the United States, they looked at this and they were like, this is not anything close to what we as the United States of America value. First of all, we were fighting against a king. So don't put our first president sitting on a throne like an emperor. And this guy told us to put down our swords. So don't tell us to pick up swords. It's too neoclassical. It's too classical in reference. It's going too far. It's not something that the United States government liked. After the unveiling, there was a reporter who was following one of the senators outside of Congress, outside of the state building, and he was like, Senator, what do you think of the new statue by Grinnell? And the senator was like marching off, and he goes, throw it in the river. Nobody liked this statue. It's not under the dome in the Capitol building. Instead, it's tucked away in this dark corner of the National Gallery. And you can see here the scale of it. So, I don't know. It's a bit too much, I think, right? It's too far. It's too classical. And it's quite hilarious.